Continuing to cover breaking news in a CBS Sports HQ out of the NFL, wide receiver Amari Cooper is being traded to the Cleveland Browns. This confirmed by our Josina Anderson and Jonathan Jones. The 27-year-old former Cowboy spent the last 3.5 seasons of his 7-year career in Dallas. In return for the 4-time Pro Bowler, Dallas, as you take a look at the details, will receive a 5th-round pick. The teams will also swap 6th-round selections. Cooper led the Cowboys in catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns in 2 of his seasons in the Big D. All right, digging into the details with our insider, Josina Anderson. Josina, thank you for stopping by here. As you take a look at this deal, you were one of the first on it. Handful of teams were interested in Amari Cooper. What can you tell us about the way the deal got done with Cleveland?
Well, first and foremost, I want to give CBS Sports HQ credit because we did have it first in terms of the fact that the teams were working together to consummate this deal. So I just want to make sure that we establish that off the top. I would say that I got a call within the last half an hour telling me that he was going to possibly be traded to either one of 2 teams. That was the Cleveland Browns or the Jacksonville Jaguars at the time. And then shortly thereafter, I was able to confirm it in multiple places that the Browns and the Cowboys were working on this deal. Now, this is something that we anticipated was potentially coming as news began to leak out that they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with Amari Cooper simply because they needed to make a decision by the 5th day after the new league year with respect to the financial details on his contract. One of the things that you constantly were hearing that the Cowboys had multiple pieces to figure out with respect to what DeMarcus Lawrence was owed, the fact that they were wanting to get something done with Michael Gallup, who was their other wide receiver on the team, and just multiple considerations with the cap hit and the cap numbers of stars like Ezekiel Elliott and obviously Dak Prescott. So this right now is culminating with them making the determination to ship out Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns, which very interestingly also coincides with their decision on Jarvis Landry. This is a wide receiver who obviously has been a part of leading their production offensively on their team for a while, who got a 5-year, $75.5 million contract extension with the Cleveland Browns in 2018 and would seem to suggest, foreshadowing maybe their plans with Jarvis Landry with the fact that they got this deal or that they're working on this trade, rather, with Amari Cooper.
Josina, we were talking about it at the Combine last week, just in terms of looking at Amari's future through the lens of Odell Beckham. And Odell was a guy who was former star, took a step backwards due to injury, and the numbers weren't necessarily there. Then he gets the opportunity elsewhere, and we saw the fruits of that labor through the stretch there and then with a Super Bowl ring. But I will point out that Amari Cooper is going into a situation with a far different offense than that LA one. How do you like this move for Amari's future?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great move. I think, when you look at what's going on around the league, and I think we kind of have to back up a little bit, and it's a great question by you. When you talk about Tom Brady and the effect of him moving from the Patriots to the Bucs. And then you look at Stafford, going from the Lions to the Rams. You see a lot of teams right now antsy, to make moves, especially with the way quite frankly, I think Les Snead has had an impact on a lot of these general managers wanting to make sure that they reinforce themselves with the necessary firepower to be competitive and not just to, do well during the regular season. But the point is to win a Super Bowl. And you have to make sure that you have the necessary assets. So to kind of go back to what you were saying about Amari Cooper, despite the fact that he's had a dip or been dealing with injuries, this is a wide receiver that is still 27. He is coming off of 1,189 receiving yards 3 years ago, 1,114, and last season 865. And by my book, that is still productive in anyone's book, let alone the fact that he's getting that production with CeeDee Lamb on the team, getting 1,102 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns last season. So this is a guy that can still be productive. And oh, by the way, we're still coming off conversations from, around the trade deadline last year with everyone that had all these things to say about OBJ at the time. Amari Cooper is 2 years younger than Odell Beckham Jr. So if you look at the two teams that made the Super Bowl, and I made this point during the combine, they had firepower at the wide receiver position. There's nothing indicating here that Amari Cooper, when in a situation where he can continue to flourish, can still be productive for a team.
And the pressure now squarely on the lap of Baker Mayfield, who still has plenty to prove at this current juncture. He now has his top progression. This is going to be the first place he looks when he's getting to the top of that drop. Do you think this is more pressure on Baker, or do you like this as a piece in the offense to maybe illuminate what he truly can be as a quarterback?
Well, there's no question that there is some football pressure and good pressure, as there is with any quarterback leading a team, to incorporate and assimilate all of the resources at their disposal in the offense, particularly in transparency in light of how Odell Beckham Jr. performed after leaving Cleveland. So, and, you know, when you also consider the fact that Baker Mayfield is coming off of off-season surgery in the shoulder and what have you, you know, there is a lot writing for him. He's able to get, you know, some money out of Cleveland, but still looking for that, you know, next extension, or the extension rather for him. So there's a lot of things that Baker Mayfield still needs to put down in order to not only have the Cleveland Browns be comfortable with that with him for the future, but showing that he can continue to get everybody involved in the offense per the way that it is designed for him to do so. And I do believe that he has the qualities to do that, and has shown that he can do that at times. And this gives him another opportunity to do so, with Amari Cooper set to arrive right now unofficially to the Cleveland Browns.
Josina, thank you so much for your reporting, as always. All right, let's situate this statistically for a moment, because the production has been there. We talk about the 1,000-yard seasons in 5 of 7 seasons, but Amari Cooper also just one of 6 players ever to have 5+ touchdowns in each of their first 7 seasons. We'll see if he can carry that production to Cleveland.
Nerds.
Hey,